The name of this story is Thanksgiving Day. The story is by Anne Rockwell. She's the author, and the illustrator is by Lizzie Rockwell. Thanksgiving Day. Do you know why we celebrate Thanksgiving? Do you know why we always eat turkey, cornbread, and cranberry sauce on Thanksgiving Day? I do. I learned why in school. Our teacher, Mrs. Madoff, read us the story of the first Thanksgiving. I like that story. There are all the boys and girls sitting in the circle and their teacher's reading to them. We learned about the Wampanoag people who were already in this land, and the Pilgrims who came across the sea from England. Now, these people, the Pilgrims, lived in England, and the king there was being very mean. He was telling them how they had to dress and how they had to go to church, and they didn't like it. So they decided they were going to leave and come to our country, a new country. When they got here, there were already people here. They were called the Wampanoag Indians. And they helped the Pilgrims. Pilgrim men wore tall black hats with silver buckles, and Pilgrim women wore white caps. Wampanoag people wore leather headbands with feathers in them. There's one of those headbands. They're pretending to be the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people. After the story, we put on a play. I went first. I was the ship called the Mayflower. I told how I was thankful that I tossed and rolled and tossed and rolled some more, but didn't sink in the big waves far out at sea. Now, the Pilgrim people who came from England away from that mean king got on a ship that was called the Mayflower, and it had to sail clear across the ocean with everybody on the ship. Evan was a Wampanoag named Samoset. He was thankful for all the wild turkeys that lived in the land his people called Massachusetts. He told how one day he saw the Mayflower sailing toward his land. So the Wampanoag Indians were already here when the Mayflower came with the Pilgrims. Sarah told how all the Pilgrims were thankful when they finally reached land. They named a big rock Plymouth Rock, after the place they came from in England. They saw lots of wild cranberries growing. That's why we eat cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving, Sarah said. And that rock is still up there in Massachusetts. You can still go there and visit Plymouth Rock, where the Pilgrims landed with their ship. Nicholas told how he was thankful for forests full of trees. The Pilgrims chopped them down to build warm houses. Now, this was very, very, very long time ago. And there weren't houses when the Pilgrims got here. There were trees and forests, but no houses. So they had to chop down trees and build their own houses. Pablo was Squanto. He was thankful that all the kernels of corn the Wampanoag people planted, sprouted, and grew tall and green. Now, Squanto was one of the Wampanoag people that lived here in America before the Pilgrims came. But he knew how to speak English because he had studied for a while in England. So he could talk to the Pilgrims, and he helped them learn how to plant corn. He called it maize. Sam was thankful that Squanto told him wild turkeys were good to eat and taught him how to hunt them. The Pilgrims had never seen a wild turkey in England. They'd never tasted one either. It was delicious. Machiko was thankful that she and all the other Pilgrims were greeted kindly by the Wampanoag people who shared the land with them. So the Wampanoags and the Pilgrims were friends. They shared things. Kate was thankful that her new neighbors were peaceful Pilgrims, looking for a new land to live in, and not mean people looking for someone to fight with. Jessica was thankful that the beautiful land of Massachusetts had enough good things for everyone. Evelyn was Chief Massasoit. She told how the Wampanoag and Pilgrim people shared their harvest feast one autumn day. Now the Wampanoag people taught the Pilgrims how to grow vegetables and how to hunt for the animals. So they decided to have a feast. And the feast was outdoors. They brought big tables outside. And the Wampanoag people and the Pilgrims for 3 days had a feast. They played games, and they ate food, and they enjoyed one another's company. And they were thankful that they had such a rich harvest. Harvest is when you grow crops and you bring them in. When you cut them, when it's time to be eating them, that's what a harvest is. That was the first Thanksgiving. It's a story we'll never forget. It's something we celebrate every year, and we still do. We celebrate Thanksgiving. Today is our Thanksgiving holiday. We don't go to school or work today. Instead, we celebrate and are thankful at home. We eat turkey, cornbread, and cranberry sauce, just like the Pilgrims and the Wampanoags. We invite our family, friends, and neighbors to share our feast, just as the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people did. The end.